Hi, this is your host, Nicole Herrod. I'd like to welcome you to our call with today's guest, Morgana Rae. Morgana is an international #1 best-selling author, speaker, and pioneer in personal development. She is regarded as the world's top relationship with money coach, and she was named one of the top women in e-commerce by We Magazine. Morgana's groundbreaking program for creating wealth has featured her on ABC TV, PBS, NPR, CNN Radio, United Press International, and the Wall Street Journal Online. Morgana is the owner of Charmed Life Coaching, a successful life and business coaching company that guides clients to be business and money magnets. Morgana inspires everyone to have more fun at work and more love at home while creating a total life of ease, flow, and synchronicity. So I'm excited about today's call because today you will discover how to uncover your hidden blocks to abundance. You'll abolish your financial anxiety. You'll learn a new way of relating to money that's radically different from anything you've heard before. You're also going to discover a new way of setting fees that gets you what you want and deserve and feels really, really good. You'll become irresistibly attractive to money and love, and you'll receive a revolutionary system that you can use for the rest of your life. Morgana, thank you for joining us today, and welcome to the call.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Morgana, before we get started, can you just take about 2 or 3 minutes and share with us what you believe to be the major turning points in your life that allowed you to manifest your current level of success?
Well, it's so funny that I'm known for this money thing. It's like the biggest joke in the world that I never could have predicted because I come from a family of hippies, artists, dancers. My grandmother started the Renaissance Fair. I went to college and studied religion. And not even mainstream religion, the really weird, esoteric, obscure stuff in Asia and Jewish mysticism, really, really practical stuff. So the reason I teach what I teach now is because it was such an area of failure and pain and agony for me for so long, where I'm a really good student. I mean, I was hit by a car in a coma and had this horrific head injury and learning difficulty in high school, and I still graduated with honors. I would really not wish that path on anybody. But I'm a good student, so I would go to coaching school, and I would take business classes, and I would put up the website, and I would study everything, and I would do a good job because I've always been like this good daughter, good student, good girl. All those promises, get good grades, go to a good college, make a good income. All lies. Because even with the Ivy League education and the fancy schmancy coaching certification and the website and the brochures and the tagline and all of it, I was struggling to make $100 a month.
Wow.
And nobody could tell me why, because I was doing everything right. People actually wanted to work with me as a coach. I had a string of really spectacular success stories, miracle stuff. I've always had a sort of magical touch where within weeks of coaching these new actors and writers and directors, they would get TV series and sell their films and all sorts of stuff that isn't really supposed to happen. But I had a talent for that. The only thing that I could not do was make money. And it was kind of ridiculous, my ability, my superpowers of repulsion when it came to money. And even though I wasn't making any money, I was growing debt and credit card debt and borrowing money, and I was taking more coaching classes and hiring more coaches who were great. And this is the horrible thing, is you can spend a fortune on the very best coaches in the world and get no results, and it's not their fault. And that was my story. And it plunged me into such a black pit of despair where I felt like I finally knew what I was here to do, which is to help people. And I was good at it, and I couldn't make a living at it. Seemed like the most sadistic joke and I didn't want to have any part of it, and I really wanted to die, which is why I take this work so seriously. And that was my turning point, because nobody else's stuff worked for me. I had the vision board. I had the affirmations. I had, the millionaire mindset. I was doing everything, inner strategy, outer strategy, and failing in a really spectacular way. And I believe that when you're doing everything right and it's not working, that the universe is working through you to create something new.
Definitely.
That is my belief. And what changed for me was my unconscious relationship with money in a way that nobody else was teaching. Because there are, honestly, a lot of great teachers who talk about relationship with money, but nothing like the way I talk about relationship with money, because their stuff didn't work for me. And I needed something different. And my results were instantaneous. The next day, 4 people hired me at double what I'd ever charged before. And they kept coming and they kept coming and they kept coming. And within 6 months, I felt like my brain was going to explode. Oh no, it was too much, right? And I started a waiting list and group programs. And now, where I used to struggle to make $100 a month, and I was so terrified of losing that client, now I can make $100,000 in a month, and it's easy. So I'm thinking of those old Virginia Slim commercials, even though I don't smoke. It's like, I've come a long way, baby. Yeah. And it's just me, because I've coached thousands of people over the last decade, and my results are nothing compared to what I've seen in other people, because every single time I take people through the process, I learn something new. So yes, we're going to talk about money today, but this call and this whole event is about so much more than money. This is about life. And the reason, because I consider myself a life coach, and I have been for 17 years now, which is pretty amazing to be able to say. And I can tell you that money is the number one excuse for people not living the life of their dreams. Mm-hmm. Money is the big dream killer. It is the number one excuse for everything that you can't have, or you can't do, or you can't be. So I'm here out of a commitment to everybody on this call, getting to live their greatest life, and greater than they can imagine for themselves. My imagination was way too small to believe that my current life is possible. I look at my life now with shock when I take a look at where I travel and who I play with. And it's not just money, but the romance in my life and the quality of friendships and what I can do to help other people, and the impact down to when my girlfriend called me in a panic because she has an animal sanctuary, an animal rescue farm, and she was going to lose it. It was going into foreclosure, and she knew me when I was struggling to make $100 a month. I could just wire her the money to pay off the mortgage and save her farm.
That is incredible, because I think so many of us can really identify with where you've been, and we look towards having a life like the one you just described. And one of the things you said a few minutes ago is that I think for a lot of us, it's easy to manifest abundance in other areas of our lives, and yet we can still be stuck around the issue of money. Why is that?
Oh, I love that question. Money is a sticky issue. We're not really honest about how we feel about money. There's so much pain around money. Remember, it's the dream killer. It's the excuse for what we can't have, do, or be. It's really the monster in our lives. So while we think we want it and we know we need it to survive, at the same time we have so much anger and fear around money, so much resentment. And Nicole, it is hard to attract and keep something you fear and despise. Because consciously we're doing one thing, but at a subconscious level, and the subconscious always wins, subconsciously we are protecting ourselves from it. And that was the piece that was missing for me when I was doing all that positive thinking and all those affirmations and vision boards and stuff, is what I did not know was how much I needed to protect myself from money. And I didn't know that until I did something really, really weird. And this is a good time to lean in. When I imagined money was a human being, everything became clear. Now, going back to that really dark time in my life, and to set the stage, not only was I making $100 a month and in danger of losing even that at any moment, I was investing in more classes. So I took a class in overcoming sales objections, and I was such a good student that 7 people in a row said yes, they would hire me, and none of them showed up, and none of them paid. 7 people in a row. And that's when I lost my mind. And I pulled the drapes shut in the bedroom, got on the bed, and just screamed. It hurt so badly, and I was so angry, and I felt betrayed and despairing, and I really just lost it. And, of course, even though I had no money coming in, I was still taking classes and investing in coaching. Thank God. Thank God. Because in the next coaching session, and I was very, very lucky that I was in such pain and rage. Because when you're in that heightened state, it makes it very, very easy to create instant change. Because from a neurological point of view, all your neurology is lighting up. Your brain is firing. And when you're in that heightened state, we can rewire you. That's why things can change in an instant. Somebody can get a phobia in a moment because some traumatic experience happens. There's that plasticity. So because I was in so much pain, when my coach asked me, Morgana, if your money was a person, who would your money be? My money monster showed up instantaneously. I had no idea that this was how I felt about money until I saw this big, scary, dirty, violent biker just show up in my mind's eye. Big, bald, the big sideburns, the wife beater shirt, the tattoos. And, you know, there are women who like that kind of guy, and he terrified me. And I knew with every fiber of my being, I could feel it, that if I were at a live event with this guy, I would have my eye on him every moment to create maximum distance between the two of us. And in that moment, my financial situation made sense for the very first time in my whole life, because that was money. And I had my eye on it all the time. And I was creating maximum distance between the two of us as if my life depended on it. And I never knew until I saw the guy. And I also knew once I saw money as a person that there was no possibility that I could ever have that in my life, that my financial situation could not possibly change because that biker was so awful, so terrible, so frightening, that there was no way that if that was my money, I could have it in my life. So the next natural step was I had to end that relationship. I had to get rid of the biker. And that created a problem because when I got rid of the biker, I had just gotten rid of the only relationship with money I had. I had just rejected money. And granted, this is all going on in my head within the matter of minutes, but it felt real. And it has to feel real. It can't just be a great idea. And it's funny because I now go all over the planet and people come up to me and they recognize me, which is really neat. And sometimes people say, oh, yeah, that money, monster money, honey, is such a great idea. To which I say, thank you. But what I'm really thinking is, but it's not a good idea, and it doesn't work if it's a good idea. But it's also really not gracious to start to lecture people who just gave you an acknowledgement.
Well, you just mentioned something. You had described the money monster, but then you talked about a money honey. Can you just tell us more about the money?
Yeah, well, this is the other half of the equation. It's like two sides of the same coin. Once you get rid of the money monster, there's a space where that relationship used to be. And if you really got rid of your monster, it's going to feel different than anything you've experienced your whole life, because you've had that relationship with that monster your whole life. And to be without it, it can feel freeing. It can feel light. I've had people on the other side of the planet tell me that the sun came out from behind the clouds at that moment, which is really neat. It can also feel terrifying, because this is a relationship that you know, and it's suddenly gone, like losing a limb. We need to fill that hole immediately, because we don't want the monster to come back. So that was the new problem. Yay! Oh no, I just got rid of money. What do I do now? And anyone who's ever been in a really bad abusive relationship is not in a hurry to get into the same thing again. So I had to be creative. And I asked myself, and this is a really important point, you might even want to write this down. I asked myself, who would I want in my life so much that I would want this person even though it's money? The love has to be so big that it makes that relationship with money possible. A relationship that is about numbers. A relationship that is about cash or dollars is not a new relationship. It's still going to be fear-based. It's still going to be giving your power away to this other entity. It's still going to be, what have you done for me lately? And that's not good enough, and I'm still afraid. But a relationship built on love and romance and desire and happiness, mutual admiration and trust and adoration, that's very different. It brings out your best. It relaxes what some people call the reptile brain, the limbic brain, the fear brain that gets all panicked. So that even if your financial situation is exactly the same, when you're in partnership with this new money person and you feel so loved and so in love, the two of you can sit down and take a look at anything, and it's different. What happens when our brain relaxes, and I just love brain science, can you tell? The frontal lobe of our brain, where we are geniuses, takes over. When you're relaxed and happy and peaceful and in love, that's when the genius part of your brain takes over, and you can see opportunities that you didn't see before. You become resourceful. You become magical. And the two of you can talk, which is pretty awesome. A friend of mine last year said to me that, and I love this, he said, the instructions for living outside the box are written on the outside of the box. And that's a problem if you're inside the box. But your money honey lives outside the box, which is why we make your money honey a person outside of you for a lot of reasons. Right. One of them is so that you can finally see and experience how lovable you are without all those filters of your money monster and all of your grief over a lifetime. You get to actually see yourself through the eyes of a lover. And that does something to us. Mm. We just become gorgeous and radiant, and it doesn't matter how old we are or what we weigh. Does not matter at all. I was coaching a woman in her 70s, and she would walk down the street and people would smile at her and give her flowers. And when guys are feeling heroic and their money honey is just looking up in their eyes going, "You're my hero." They say they stand taller, and they feel able to protect and provide for the people in their lives. So we want to be able to talk to our money. And I think somewhere in the promises that I made for this call, I said, I'm going to teach you how to set your fees in a way that feels really good. And here's how you do it. When you have your hot, sexy, romantic, adoring, fantasy money honey wrapping his arms around you, or gentleman wrapped in your arms, looking at you with love, nibbling on your neck, and you're really, really happy, the two of you, that's a good time to start to discuss what you should charge. And for the women in particular, and I'm not ruling out the guys in this, but ladies, this tends to be a problem for us a little bit more. So when I set my fees, I'm setting my fees not out of my own ego or my own pride or any of that kind of stuff, but out of love. Because here I've got this beautiful guy who is desperate to be with me, my money honey, tall, dark, handsome, dressed in a tuxedo with a bouquet of red flowers, who has been in love with me forever, and I've been cruelly pushing him away and treating him like a monster and breaking his heart and devaluing myself, which is like driving a knife into his gut, because it breaks his heart to see me be bad to myself. He doesn't know what to do about that or how to be with that. So when I ask him what he needs from me, I have been getting a lot of answers over the last 10 years. And a big theme is always has to do with valuing myself. So when I set fees out of love for him, out of not treating him like a monster. The first thing he said to me when I first met my money honey back in 2003, when I said, what do you need from me so that you can stay with me the way I know you want to? Because I could feel it. And he said, I need you to love me and stop treating me like a monster. And I realized just how horrible and mean I had been all those years. Every time he brought me clients, and I was ashamed to charge, and I was ashamed of my fee as if he were some ugly, horrible monster, when instead he was this lover bringing me a gift. So I promised him that next time he brought me a client, I would say thank you. And I would state my fee as if he were the cutest guy in the world. And I did. And that's how I got 4 people to hire me at double what I'd ever charged before the next day, because he brought me 4 gifts the very next day. So when you set your fee as an act of love, not fear. And don't cheat on your money, honey, because people will have their stories. And they may be feeding their own money monster by saying, oh, I can't afford it. And you have a choice here, because you are going to have a relationship with money for the rest of your life. This person may or may not be able to afford you. I don't know. People tell themselves stories. People tell each other stories. They will come in and out of your life. We do want to help as many people as we possibly can while we're here on earth. And there are lots of ways to do that without cutting your fees or devaluing yourself or starving.
That is such a powerful way to reframe the whole situation so that you can accept it. And it's almost like a money magnetism secret, it sounds like. And I know you often state that there are 3 powerful money magnetism secrets. Would you mind sharing them with us?
Okay. The first one is you need to make this relationship with money a person and make it so real that it doesn't really matter that we're calling it money. Because actually, this isn't even really about money, it's about life. But this is that area of life that we struggle with the most, because it represents our deepest issues. Everything about our worth, our lovability, and our safety. Secret number 2, which is really huge, because remember I said your obstacles are not what you think. Your financial obstacles, in fact, your money monster, is never really about money. You will probably not find your money monster if you're only looking at money stories. What's more important than the story is the pain and what it represents. With my clients, we find the monster once we get off of the stories about money and we get into the other stuff, like the eating disorder or the childhood abuse or the broken marriage. Anything, wherever the pain is strongest, use that and then blame that on your money monster. It's really the pain that matters, not the facts. I don't even really care if the facts are true or not. I'm just listening for the pain that is behind these beliefs about your worth and your lovability and your safety that then become your relationship with money, because these are the things that money represents. And the third secret, the most attractive thing to your money honey will always be anything that is for your highest good, anything that involves self-care and growth. I believe money is really a spiritual teacher, so even when the dollars go down, it's not that money left you, it's that money is saying, hey, hello, over here, pay attention, reconnect with me. It's time to evolve. I love you. Don't forget about me. You are more creative. You are more powerful. You are more resourceful than you believe about yourself. So come back and pay attention.
That sounds like such an incredible, powerful process, because I think a lot of different teachers talk to us on an intellectual level, and this really gets at the heart of it. So I'm wondering, as people are going through this process, what are some common mistakes that you've seen people make?
Ooh, the biggest mistakes. Not going deep enough into the root cause, into the pain to create the money monster. If you find yourself killing a new money monster every single day, or you get the idea, just lots of monsters, you're playing too superficial. You haven't gone deep enough. You haven't really gotten the monster, and you haven't really gotten rid of it. So every step depends on the one before. You can't skip the money monster part and just try to pretend that money is a nice person, especially if you're like facing eviction or freaked out that you're going to lose what you have. And by the way, I have coached really wealthy people. And when I say really wealthy, I'm talking hundreds of millions, even billions of dollars wealthy. And to my amazement and education, it doesn't really change. People without money fear they'll never have it. People who have money fear they're going to lose it, or that they don't even have enough. Same issues around worth, about money getting in the way of love, of not being good enough. Same issues. And so it's just the stakes get higher because there's more to lose. So what we want to do is we want to change your relationship immediately wherever you are. Because it's not an accident that these instant millionaires who win lotteries or get NFL contracts are broke or dead within 3 years.
Right, right.
Because if you don't have a healthy relationship with money, more money doesn't make your life better. Makes the monster bigger.
It must be a bit tricky, because I think sometimes for an individual, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. Sometimes there are some hidden blocks that you may have, and it's so deep you can't get to them. Is there any way to uncover any hidden blocks to abundance?
Follow the pain. Again, the sooner you cannot make it about money, the faster you'll find the real block. For instance, years ago when I was in Australia, I was having lunch with a gentleman who had heard about me and wanted to learn more about what I did. And I found out within the first couple of minutes that when he was a child, his father had committed suicide. And I knew for him, money had killed his father. Because when we're kids, our parents are our money. They provide our safety, our love, our worth, our security, all of it. And when that's taken away for him, and he didn't know this until I told him, for him, his money monster had taken away his dad. And when I told him that, his response was, oh my God, Morgana, all these years I've taken every Robert Kiyosaki, Chris Howard, Tony Robbins, Harvecker class, and I could not figure out why I couldn't change my relationship with money until now. I didn't even have to know the specifics. It turns out that, why, yes, his father was feeling financially anxious when he committed suicide. I could guess that because men measure their worth in dollars in our society. And if they don't, the people around them do. So when men don't have money and they don't feel they can provide, they feel like they have nothing to offer, which is very dangerous and terribly devastating. And as soon as I made that connection for him, it was like this light went on. And he saw it all, which is, half of the process. And on the way back to the seminar that we were taking together, it was so funny. He picked up his bag and there was a $20 bill on the ground. So take a look at what is not obviously about money. If there was a suicide, violence, insecurity, the kids who teased you at school, anything that made you not feel good enough, that's where the juice is that says that you don't deserve to have what you want in life. Because that's really what the money monster is all about, is preventing you from having, doing, and being what you want in life.
Is this process, is it something that you do once, or is it something you have to repeat often?
It depends on the individual. I did it in 2003, and I was kind of good to go for 5 years. And then in 2008, things happened in the economy. And I'm very sensitive to what's going on, and I really care. And I was seeing so much horribleness going with people losing their houses and losing their savings and all the fear and injustice with all that. And it got to a point where I could not pretend to trust my money honey anymore. I was so angry at what was going on. And here's the interesting thing is you can get rid of your monster, but other people's monsters are really seductive. And seeing all this insecurity in the world really affected me, and I had to start over. And I'm so glad I did, because the new relationship, I got a new money honey who was more mature, had more gravitas, was actually sexier, and taught me new things. The relationship felt new again, and it felt more intimate, and it felt more real. So that was a really long gap between doing it. Most people do it more often. If I had a coach who could do this with me, I would probably do it more often, but I'm kind of really the only one. So one of my most successful clients ever, Athena Burke, was this single mom with mountains of debt and very little income. And she actually did the process really well on her own before she hired me. And her money honey told her to hire me. And we had a talk, and I heard about her situation, and I was not going to try to sell myself to her. In fact, because she had so much debt, I kind of wanted to talk her out of hiring me, but my money honey said, shut up, let her be an adult and make her own choice. So she hired me, and she went from very little income and mountains of debt to making tens of thousands of dollars a month, working part-time so that she could take care of her small children in a span of 5 months. Because her money honey really instilled in her the value that she offered her clients. And her clients got it and wanted her. And the more she charged, the longer her waiting list became. And every time, her money honey would tell her to raise her fee, she would go, oh, no, money, I couldn't. Nobody could afford me. And he'd say, this is what you need to charge. So she would say, okay. And even more people wanted her. The reason I'm sharing that story is because I was coaching a number of people at that time who started around the same time as she did. Everybody was having really good results, but Athena was getting results off the charts. And I asked her why. And she said that she had done the process 17 times. 3 of those times were with me, and the other 14 times were on her own. It was simply the center of her spiritual practice. And this woman is a spiritual master. She had been on a spiritual path, and she had been a channeler and a healer for many, many years before I came along. But she said the work around money is deeper than anything else she had ever done. And it's because of those conflicts that we talked about at the very beginning of the call that makes it different than other spiritual paths. It really digs up the darkest stuff in the beginning intentionally. Because the darker we start out by creating the worst possible money monster, it creates momentum. It creates this tension that really catapults you over onto the other side. So we want to create extremities so we can get really dramatic results really, really fast. And the bigger and badder your monster is and you get rid of him, the bigger and more spectacular your money honey is on the other side, where we get results like Caroline Connis, who listened to a call like this and took advantage of my continuing education offer, got rid of her money monster, got into a relationship with her money honey that night, and the next day received $86,000 out of the blue.
Wow.
Pretty nice, huh? That's why I do these calls, because I'm coaching very few people privately now because I can help more people by doing these calls and offering a continuing education offer to support you. I see that I can create more results for more people than one-on-one. So now I work with up to 4 people a year individually, and it's very expensive because I'm really focusing my energy on how do I help the most people possible in the most joyful way and not killing myself in the process by trying to coach every single person in the world one-on-one, which is just silly. By the way, I know you have more questions for me, and I'm also really respectful of the time. Do you mind if I just share what I put together for this group, and then we can jump back into questions?
That would be fantastic. And actually, before you describe it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give everyone listening a link that they can go to so they can see exactly what Morgana is going to describe.
Okay,
so if
great.
you're listening, I highly encourage you to go click on the special offer button that is on this page. So Morgana, can you describe what will people find when they go there?
Something I should have said earlier, and I'm going to say now, is that when I teach this class, I am holding nothing back. I am really trying to squeeze everything that I can into 1 hour. And I've been doing this for 10 years with thousands of clients, and there's no way that I can cram everything I know into 1 hour. And I also really, truly appreciate that you've built your current relationship with money over a lifetime, and it takes more than 1 hour to master anything worth mastering, especially your relationship with money. And that's why I created this. Simply because I'm in this for more than just an instant feel-good thrill to, like, give you an enthusiastic experience and then leave you on your own without the tools when you get stuck. So out of my own sense of integrity, I put together what I believe will give you what you need so that you can have the results you want, and to make it really, really easy. So what I put together in this Best Life Possible Abundance Breakthrough product, first of all, I have my newly revised and updated ebook, which lays out my whole process in the 6 steps, points out the traps, points out what you need to do each step successfully. And then you also get a front row seat for a coaching demonstration that I did with a complete stranger so that you can actually see what this looks like to go through the journey from money monster to money honey, and where she goes off track and how I correct her and what's necessary for this to work. So it's this like really rare opportunity because I don't do these live coaching demos anymore. So that's an ebook because some people like me learn visually better than hearing. So I wanted something that you could go back to and pick up what maybe I didn't say today or you didn't hear today. Then I've also noticed, after coaching so many people, that men and women are different. And I pointed out that for men, a man's financial status is like his worth as a man. And in fact, I believe that men's money monsters are bigger and more difficult to destroy than women's, because that's what brings out their heroes. So it's different for men and women. For women, our relationship with money has so much to do with our bodies, our weight, our sexuality, and love. So I recorded 2 separate classes, one on men and money and one on women and money. And also, whatever gender you are, listen to the other to understand the men and women in your life. And I truly believe that so much of the conflict between men and women is just a lack of understanding, simply a lack of comprehension of what the other one is going through. And one of my favorite side benefits of this work is, and this is my favorite benefit of this work, is actually not the cash. Even though there's tons and tons of evidence that this works financially, but it's the love stuff that so many marriages that were on the verge of breaking up because of all that anxiety about money and worthiness and all that kind of stuff, so many of those marriages fell back in love. And people who are single and never had a good love relationship attracted their life partners, their soulmates. And that, to me, is the most exciting thing in the world. Okay, back to the education offer. The number one question that I get in my email box every day, and I get hundreds of emails every day, and I do not respond to them because I can't answer coaching questions through private emails with non-clients. So because I can't respond to your questions after this call, I know that the number one question has to do with getting rid of your money monster, because you can't have a money honey if the money monster is there. The bed is just not big enough. So I created an ebook on how to get rid of your money monster. I could not get into details with that in the time we had today, not because I'm a tease, but just because I needed to get through the whole process. So I created this ebook on how to get rid of your money monster, and I also loaded it with real life examples of people who shared what their money monster was, how they found their money monster, how they got rid of their money monster. And then for fun, I'm including my favorite checklist of money's likes and dislikes. Over the years, I've noticed patterns that money honeys like some things and don't like other things. Like money honeys tend to like self-confidence, self-love, self-care. Very often I hear from my female clients that their money honey likes sexy lingerie. Money honeys do not like clutter. They don't like undercharging. So I just poured out the most common themes and put that in this checklist to help you stay on track. And then very, very special for this group is one of my most powerful coaching tools. And this is not just for money. This is for anything. If there is some area of your life that you have been struggling with and you have been doing everything to move past this, and it's like maybe it's health, maybe it's relationship, maybe it's money, maybe it's something completely different, but you know so much about that problem that you could teach the class and you're sick of it, like some old shabby sweater that is too tight and moth infested, and you just want to take it off. I recorded my evolution accelerator for when you're ready to take the lesson and move on and get unstuck and manifest your new life now. And it's an audio class and a worksheet, really powerful, really magical, because this class that I'm teaching today is about more than money. It's really about having your greatest life ever. So remember I said that I cannot respond to your coaching questions after this call. If you send me an email, you will get a form response from my assistant, but I cannot answer your coaching questions about your money monster, your money honey, because you're not a client. However, because I really, really, truly want all of you to have the breakthrough you want, I am adding a 90-minute group coaching call. I charge $1,000 for these calls, and I am adding this. I'm putting this in your package as a bonus because it is the most valuable thing that I can offer. I can hear things and I can see things that nobody else can, and I can hone in on the problem and get to the solution better and faster than anybody else can. And there's something energetic about my presence where when I talked with Chris Galligan for 15 minutes, this is an artist who had been struggling for months, a great artist, and he just hadn't been able to sell anything for months. The next day, he got over $100,000 in orders. So there is this thing that people call the Morgana effect, and I'm including this. So this whole package, if we were to break it down into individual pieces, would be valued at $1,853.80, and I am giving it to you for $99. Because remember I said, every time you say I can't afford it, you feed your money monster. So I don't want that to be the excuse. If you want to finally eradicate and liberate yourself from your money monster and stop protecting yourself from big wealth and create a relationship with money that is a love affair for the ages that brings out your best life and the best life for the people around you, where you get to be your best self. If you want that, I want to make that so easy and available for you that I'm pricing it at $99 so that you can make a choice based on what you want and you can own it, and also still invest enough that you and your money honey know that you take this relationship seriously.
That is absolutely incredible. I think you're really helping people to access all of your experience and the wealth of your knowledge and get some coaching, have the opportunity to get coached by you afterwards. And I think that's such a powerful package that you've put together. Thank you for that generosity. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. Were there any other questions that you had for me before we go?
I just had about two more pop into my mind. And one of them was that you had, given lots of great examples about how individuals, after they've taken your program, that they manage to attract all these wonderful things, whether it's, love and, of course, money and opportunity into their lives. And I'm wondering, what makes your program different from the law of attraction? A lot of people talk about the law of attraction. What goes around comes around, that thought. What would you say is the difference between the two?
Oh, thank you for asking that, because I'm friends with some of the world's greatest law of attraction teachers, and I love them. And I completely failed at the law of attraction. At the happiest time of my life, when I was 16 years old, I was in love. I was getting straight A's. The world was my oyster. And I was hit by a car and in a coma and had a head injury, and my life completely fell apart. And I had really high vibrations. So I believe that life happens, and I don't believe in blaming people for having bad experiences. And I believe in making those painful experiences really, really useful and valuable. So instead of telling somebody to fear feeling bad or having negative thoughts, instead, I want you to use that and create a monster out of it. Bring it out into the light, because it's already there, and get really honest. And you aren't going to be punished for having negative thoughts and negative feelings. In fact, you're going to be rewarded, because we're going to create this monster that creates so much energy and momentum that it makes your money honey possible. And that's how it's different. I had to come up with something that would work for people like me. a law of attraction loser. I want to make all life experiences valuable. I call this process alchemy, financial alchemy. And alchemy is the transmutation of lead into gold. So we're taking your lead and human experience and turning that into spiritual and material gold so that you don't have to be ashamed of being a human being.
That is fantastic. One final thought I had was that I have a friend, unfortunately, right now who has just lost his job. He's, of course, going through all the different stages of, I think, grief and loss. And I'm wondering, how do you change your relationship with money when you're in the midst of something like he's experiencing, when you're in the midst of loss or fear about the future?
Well, fortunately, it's a lot easier to change it when you're in that state. It's really hard to do when you're in neutral. There isn't much to change. So he has an advantage because he's already really close to the money monster. So it's actually going to be easier for him because really, why change something that's working? So if he is in the middle of that loss and grief, he actually has an advantage. It gives him leverage. And I got this letter from somebody who was listening to a call very similar to this earlier in the year. And her name is Ruth Leilani Smith. She actually posted this on Facebook. And she said that last night I listened to Morgana. I've been unemployed for 14 months. I used up all of my savings and resources. I've signed up with agencies, filled out so many applications, listened to so many life coaches. I did what she said. I found and I destroyed my money monster and met my money honey. I felt the love. This morning, I went on a job fair, went to an agency, had 2 interviews, and only 5 hours later, I was offered a good job starting Monday. Thank you, Morgana. That's what I would say to your friend.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic.
I cried when I read that. You know, that's why I do this. That's why I'm here. It's so funny because I wanted to die because of my financial pain 10 years ago. And now, because of that pain, I'm in this position where people get to share these stories with me.
Right.
How fortunate am I?
What would you say, Morgana, are the biggest benefits that people can expect to experience starting right away and over time by applying the program?
Okay. First of all, I would say money is the very least. And I can't predict what's going to happen or when financially. That's why it's such a fun surprise that I get this all the time. The biggest benefits, if you really do this process and you really take everything I teach to heart, first is the elimination of financial anxiety. It's really hard to be scared of money when you're making out with them on the couch. The next thing is you feel a sense of your lovability and your value in a deeper way than you may have ever felt before. And the third piece is you have a partnership. You don't have to go through anything alone anymore because your money honey, if your money honey is a real person to you, when you don't know what to do, whether it's about business, should I say yes to this offer or not? Or I'm going through this scary thing, you don't have to do it alone. You have someone to talk to, somebody to ask, somebody to be with you. One of my clients went through a cancer scare several years ago. It turned out okay, but she brought her money honey with her to the doctor every visit, and she said she couldn't have gotten through it without her money honey. So this is about so much more than just cash. This is really about our relationship with life and transforming that area of life that is so lacking in love into this area of life that is nothing but love. And the cash is fun, and it's neat, and it's wonderful, and it's really frosting. And there's a lot of it. There's a lot of frosting.
Thank you so much, Morgana, for everything that you shared with us today. Really, I truly believe that you have information and a way in which we can all transform our lives by following your process. do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with everyone today before we go?
Yeah, this is what's coming to me. We are not our best alone. Partnership is necessary as a human being. Connection. Partnership with money, partnership with coaches, partnership with loved ones. This whole notion that you should be good enough by yourself, I think is nonsense. We need to be loved. And if you've never had a good human relationship before and you're worried that you can't have a relationship with a money honey because of your past history with human beings, I've coached a lot of people like you before, and what I can tell you is this process lays down a new blueprint for a relationship. And even if you're really good at relationships, they get even better. So be in partnership with money. I do hope that you will allow me to contribute to you in the future. That's why I created the 90-minute group coaching bonus. But nobody should have to figure it all out by yourself. That's why you're on this call, because we're a community and your prosperity serves the world.
I think that was absolutely perfectly stated. I don't think anybody could have said it any better. And I think everyone who's listening today, if you really want to make money, fall in love with you, I highly encourage you simply click on the special offer button that is on this page. Thank you so much for sharing with us today, Morgana. I really appreciate you, and thank you for taking the time to share your knowledge with us, and I really look forward to our next call together.
Me too.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed this edition, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Have a good evening, everyone.